The mop moved across the white floor in steady strokes. Daewon pushed it carefully, making sure every corner was clean. His blue uniform was old and worn, but he kept it neat. The corridor stretched long ahead of him, filled with bright lights and the soft hum of machines. Orbital Station Prosperity 7 floated high above a distant planet. Inside its metal walls lived 50,000 people from 12 different alien races. Humans were rare here. Only about 200 lived on the station, and most other species did not think much of them. Daewon was 38 years old. His hands were rough from cleaning and his back hurt most days. But he never complained. He had worked as a janitor for 2 years now, always taking the night shift when fewer people were around. It was easier that way. The sound of footsteps made him look up. 3 tall aliens walked toward him. They were Veltari, with dark blue skin and forearms. They wore the white coats of engineers. One of them, Techmore, was carrying a container of some kind of chemical. Daewon moved his cleaning cart to the side to let them pass. He nodded politely, but they did not look at him. To them, he was like part of the wall, just another thing in the hallway. As Techmore walked by, he deliberately tipped his container. The thick green liquid spilled across the floor that Daewon had just cleaned. The 3 aliens laughed loudly. Their voices echoed in the corridor. "Oh no," Techmore said in a voice that was not sorry at all. "The human waste disposal unit will have to work again." The other 2 laughed harder. One of them said something in their own language. Daewon did not need to understand the words to know they were making fun of him. He said nothing. His face showed no anger, no hurt. He simply got fresh water and began cleaning the spill. The aliens walked away, still laughing. This happened at least once a week, sometimes more. When the floor was clean again, Daewon continued his work. He moved through Sector 9, the part of the station where the big fusion reactors lived. These reactors gave power to the whole station. They were important and dangerous. Only the best engineers worked here. Daewon cleaned outside the reactor rooms, in the control areas, in the break rooms where engineers rested. He emptied trash bins and wiped down computer stations. He worked quietly, and most people did not notice him at all. But Daewon noticed everything. As he cleaned near Reactor Core 3, he felt something wrong. It was small, very small, a vibration in the floor that should not be there. He put his hand on the wall and felt it again. The vibration had a pattern like a heartbeat that was slightly off. He checked the temperature gauge on the wall. Public displays that anyone could see. The numbers looked normal, but they were at the very edge of normal, just barely acceptable. Daewon pulled out a small tablet from his cart. It was old and scratched, but it worked. He wrote down the readings and the time. He had been keeping notes like this for 3 weeks. The small problems were getting bigger, very slowly. After his shift ended at 6 in the morning, Daewon went to the human quarter. This was where most humans on the station lived. The rooms were smaller than what other species got, and the walls were thinner. But it was home. He opened the door to his tiny apartment. Inside, his daughter Hana was just waking up. She was 7 years old with dark hair that stuck up funny in the morning. When she saw him, she smiled big. "Papa," she said, running to hug him. Daewon picked her up even though his arms were tired. She was getting heavier. Soon she would be too big to pick up at all. The thought made him a little sad. "Did you have a good night?" she asked. "It was fine," he said. "Very quiet. Did you sleep well?" She nodded. "I dreamed about Earth, about the beach you told me about." Daewon smiled, but it hurt inside. Hana had been only 5 when they left Earth. She barely remembered it. The beach, the ocean, the blue sky, these were just stories to her now. He made her breakfast. Protein paste and vitamin crackers. Not very good, but it was what they could afford. Hana ate without complaining. She was a good kid. She understood that things were hard. "Do you have school today?" he asked. "Yes. Teacher Cole is going to teach us about the different species in the galaxy. There are 73 of them." "That's a lot," Daewon said. "Teacher Cole says humans are number 72 on the important list." "Is that true, Papa?" Daewon stopped washing the dishes. He turned to look at his daughter. She was looking at him with curious eyes, not sad ones. She did not understand yet what that number meant. "The list is about technology," he said carefully. "It is about who invented what machines. But it does not tell you about what is really important." "What is really important?" "Being kind, being brave, taking care of the people you love." He touched her nose gently. Those things are not on any list. She giggled and nodded. He walked her to the childcare center before going back to their apartment. There were only 15 human children on the whole station. They all went to the same small school. Hana had 3 human friends there and a few alien children who were nice to her. Back home, Daewon should have slept. He had only 4 hours before he needed to pick up Hana, eat dinner with her, help with homework, and get ready for another night shift. But instead, he sat at his tiny desk and looked at his notes. The readings from Reactor Core 3 were bothering him. They looked like the beginning of a plasma containment problem. He had seen this before a long time ago in another life. Before he was a janitor, Daewon had been an engineer. Not just any engineer. He had 3 degrees in nuclear fusion technology. He had worked at the biggest reactor facility on Earth. He had been good at his job, really good, but that was before his wife died. Before people started asking dangerous questions. Before he had to take Hana and run. Now he was nobody. Just a janitor, and maybe that was safer. He looked at the photo on his desk. It showed him, his wife, and baby Hana. They were smiling. That was 3 years ago, before everything went wrong. Daewon closed his eyes and lay down on his small bed. He needed to sleep. The reactors were not his problem anymore. He was just the janitor. Nobody would listen to him even if he tried to say something. But as he fell asleep, he kept feeling that wrong vibration in his mind. Like a warning he could not ignore. Something bad was coming. He could feel it in his bones. The station worked on a simple rule. Some species were worth more than others. The Galactic Cooperative had made a list based on technology. The species that invented more things were ranked higher. They got better jobs, bigger rooms, and more respect. The Korthans were at the top of the list. They were tall reptilian beings with scales that shimmered green and gold. They had invented the fastest space engines and the strongest energy shields. Everyone treated them like royalty. Humans were near the bottom. Number 72 out of 73. Only the Chikri were lower. The Chikri looked like giant insects and did the hardest physical labor on the station. Humans did cleaning, basic maintenance, and other simple jobs. This was how things were. Nobody questioned it. Daewon woke up after only 3 hours of sleep. His body ached, but he got up anyway. He picked up Hana from school, and they walked home together holding hands. She talked about her day, about what she learned, about a game she played with friends. He made dinner. More protein paste, this time with some vegetable powder mixed in. Hana did her homework at the small table while he cleaned their apartment. Later, he helped her practice reading. She was getting better every day. At bedtime, she asked him to tell her a story about Earth. He told her about rain, real rain that fell from clouds and made everything smell fresh and clean. She fell asleep imagining it. Then he put on his uniform and went to work. The night shift was starting. Daewon arrived at Sector 9 and signed in. The supervisor barely looked at him, just pointed to the areas that needed cleaning. Daewon nodded and got his cart. As he worked, he heard excited voices from the main engineering office. The door was open and he could hear Chief Engineer Veltran talking loudly. Veltran was a Korthan, one of the most respected engineers in the whole sector. "This will be history," Veltran was saying. "No station has ever done a gravity well jump of this distance." Daewon slowed his mopping. He moved closer to the door, pretending to clean the same spot multiple times. "Are all 7 reactors ready?" someone asked. It sounded like Myra, an Elysian engineer. The Elysians were beings made partly of energy. They glowed softly and could touch electrical systems with their bare hands. "All 7 will run at 140% capacity," Veltran said proudly. "For 12 hours during the jump. The Galactic Council wants to see what Korthan engineering can really do." 140%? Another voice said. "That is very high." "It is perfectly safe," Veltran snapped. "I designed these systems. Do you doubt me?" Nobody answered. Doubting a Korthan engineer was not a smart thing to do. Daewon felt his stomach turn cold. 140% capacity on all 7 reactors. For 12 hours? During a wormhole jump, that was dangerous. Very dangerous. Reactors were not meant to run that high for that long, and Reactor Core 3 was already showing small problems. He finished cleaning the hallway and moved to the engineering control room. This was a big room filled with computer screens and control panels. Engineers worked here around the clock watching the reactors. Juan was on duty tonight. Juan was human, one of only 2 human engineers on the entire station. He was young, maybe 25, and he wore his uniform like armor. He worked harder than anyone else, stayed longer hours, and never made mistakes. He had to be perfect. One mistake and he would lose his job, and no other human would get a chance to replace him. Juan never talked to other humans. He ate in the engineering cafeteria, not the human quarter. He pretended Day One did not exist when Day One came to clean. Day One understood. Juan was trying to survive in a system that did not want him. Being friendly with a janitor would only make things harder. While cleaning, Day One looked at the public displays on the walls. These showed basic reactor information: temperature, pressure, power output. Nothing secret, just general numbers that anyone could see. His eyes went to Reactor Core 3. The temperature was 0.6 degrees higher than it should be. The pressure fluctuation was 3% outside normal. These were small numbers. The system still marked them as green, acceptable. But Day One knew what these numbers meant when combined with a 140% power load. The plasma containment field was weakening. It was very small now, but under extreme stress it would collapse. He pulled out his tablet and made more notes. Then he did something he knew was stupid. He walked up to Juan's station. "Excuse me," Day One said quietly. Juan looked up, annoyed. "What?" "I need to tell you something about Reactor Core 3. Juan's eyes narrowed. "You need to clean. That is what you need to do. Please listen. The containment field—" "Stop," Juan stood up. He was shorter than Day One, but tried to look bigger. "Do not talk about things you do not understand. You are a janitor." "I used to be an engineer," Day One said. "On Earth. I worked with fusion reactors for 10 years. I know. I do not care what you think you know." Juan's voice was harsh. "Do you know what will happen if someone hears a janitor giving me engineering advice? They will laugh at me. They will say I am so stupid I take orders from cleaning staff. I will lose my job. But the reactor money's fine. Chief Engineer Veltran designed these systems. He is a genius. You are nobody." Juan leaned closer. "If you talk about this again, I will report you. They will fire you. And your daughter. What happens to her then?" Day One stepped back. Juan's face was cold. There was fear behind his eyes, but also anger. Anger at Day One for putting him in this position. Anger at the system that made him have to act this way. "I am sorry," Day One said quietly. "I will go back to work." Juan sat down and turned back to his screens. His hands were shaking a little, but his face was stone. Day One pushed his card away. His heart was pounding. He had tried. He had warned someone, but it had not worked. For the rest of his shift, he kept working and kept worrying. The numbers on Reactor Core 3 got a tiny bit worse, not much, just enough to make his stomach hurt. When his shift ended, he went home. Hana was still sleeping. He sat at his desk and opened his tablet. He spent 2 hours writing a detailed report. He included all his observations, all the measurements, and all his calculations. He explained exactly what would happen if they ran Reactor Core 3 at 140% capacity, with its current problems. At the end, he added something he never wanted to share. His real name, his old credentials, his degrees, his experience. Proof that he knew what he was talking about. Then he submitted it to the station's safety system as an anonymous report. The system accepted it with a simple beep. Day One sat back and rubbed his eyes. Maybe someone would read it. Maybe someone would listen. He had to hope, because the jump was scheduled for 3 days from now and he did not know what else to do. He looked at Hana, sleeping in her small bed. She looked peaceful and safe. He wanted to keep her that way. But deep in Sector 9, Reactor Core 3 hummed and shook and nobody who mattered was paying attention. The report disappeared into the station's computer system. Day One checked every few hours to see if anyone had read it. The status stayed the same. Under review. He could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the explosion in his mind. He saw the hull breaking open. He saw people being sucked into space. He saw Hana's room torn apart. 2 days until the jump. During breakfast, Hana noticed something was wrong. "Papa, are you sick?" she asked. "Just tired," he lied. "I will sleep better tonight." She looked at him with worried eyes but did not ask more questions. She was a smart kid. Too smart sometimes. At work that night, Day One learned what happened to his report. He was cleaning outside the safety office when he heard 2 officers talking. "Did you see that crazy report from a human?" one said. He was Valtari with the name badge Kren. About the reactors? The other one asked. Yeah. Some janitor thinks he knows more than Chief Engineer Veltran. I marked it as low priority and filed it. Probably just looking for attention. They both laughed and walked away. Daewon stood frozen, holding his mop. They had not even read it. Not really. They saw it was from a human and threw it away. His hands tightened on the mop handle. Anger burned in his chest, hot and bitter. But anger did not help. It never did. He kept working. But word was spreading somehow. Maybe Kren had told people. Maybe someone had seen his report before it was filed away. By the middle of his shift, he heard engineers whispering and laughing. The janitor thinks he is smarter than Veltran. Maybe we should let him design the next station. No, he should stick to toilets. That is more his level. Daewon ignored them. He cleaned and stayed quiet. But it got worse. Someone painted words on his locker. He found it when he went to get his lunch. The words were in 6 different alien languages, but they all said the same thing. Know your place. He stared at the words for a long moment. Then he got cleaning supplies and scrubbed them off. His hands were shaking. The next day, with only 36 hours until the jump, Daewon made one last try. He requested a meeting with Station Commander Ryloth. The commander was Korthan, but he had a reputation for being fair. He actually listened to complaints from lower-ranked species. Daewon filled out the formal request form. He explained that it was about station safety. He marked it as urgent. The answer came back in 10 minutes. Request denied. Commander Ryloth does not meet with sanitation personnel regarding engineering matters. Please direct concerns to your supervisor. Daewon read the message 3 times. Then he deleted it. That night, he could not go to work right away. He sat in his apartment after Hana went to bed, just staring at the wall. He was out of options. Nobody would listen. Nobody cared what a human janitor had to say. He could stay quiet. He could just hope he was wrong. Maybe the reactor would be fine. Maybe his calculations were off. Maybe the Korthan engineers knew something he did not, but he knew he was not wrong. He had checked his math a dozen times. The reactor would fail. People would die. 15,000 people according to his calculations. Maybe more. He looked at the closed door to Hana's tiny room. She was in there, sleeping peacefully, trusting that her papa would keep her safe. What kind of man would he be if he did nothing? But what kind of father would he be if he got himself killed or arrested, leaving her alone? His wife's photo sat on the desk. She smiled at him from the frame. He remembered the last thing she said to him before she died. Take care of our baby. Promise me. He had promised. Daewon opened his tablet and started a new file. He recorded a video message. His hands were steady, his voice calm. Hana, my little star, if you are watching this, it means I am not coming home. I want you to know that everything I did because it was right. Sometimes we have to be brave even when we are scared. Sometimes we have to do the hard thing because nobody else will. He paused, his throat tight. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You are smart and kind and strong. You are going to grow up and do amazing things. I am so proud of you. Always remember, you are worth everything no matter what anyone says. Your worth is not on any list. It is in here. He touched his chest. In your heart. He stopped the recording and saved it with instructions. It would only be sent to Hana if he did not check in for 48 hours. Then he opened another file. This one contained everything he knew about Reactor Core 3. He added notes about what he was planning to do, evidence in case something went wrong, in case someone needed to understand what happened and why. He spent the rest of the night studying. The reactor's emergency systems. The access codes he had watched engineers type 100 times. The manual override procedures. The containment field generators. The plasma flow controls. He drew diagrams. He memorized numbers. He ran through the procedures in his mind over and over until they were automatic. When dawn came, he had not slept at all. But he was ready. He made Hana breakfast. She chattered happily about a school project. He smiled and listened and tried to memorize everything about this moment. The way her hair fell in her eyes. The way she hummed between bites. The way she said Papa like it was the best word in the world. I love you, he said suddenly. She looked up surprised. I love you too, Papa. No matter what happens, remember that. Okay? Okay? She looked confused but nodded. Are you sure you are not sick? I am sure. He kissed her forehead. Have a good day at school. He dropped her off and hugged her extra tight. She hugged him back, then ran inside with her friends. Daewon stood outside the school for a minute, watching through the window. She was laughing at something another kid said. She was happy. He would do anything to keep her that way. That evening, before his shift, he did not go home. Instead, he went to the observation deck. It was usually empty at this hour. He stood by the huge window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. He wondered if he would ever see it again. Probably not. But that was okay. He had not done this for himself. He had done it for Hana, for all the people on this station who did not know they were in danger. For everyone who would die if he said nothing. He touched the window glass. It was cold and smooth. I tried to warn them, he whispered to the stars. I really tried. The stars did not answer. They just watched, cold and distant and uncaring. Daewon took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Then he turned and walked toward Sector 9. It was time for work. And maybe, if nobody would listen to his words, they would have to listen to his actions. In his pocket, hidden under his uniform, was his old engineering toolkit. Small tools he had kept from his previous life. Tools he hoped he would not need to use. But he was running out of hope. The jump was tomorrow. The day of the jump arrived with celebration. All across the station, people were excited. This was history. The longest gravity well jump ever attempted. A full station relocation through a wormhole, jumping across space to orbit a new planet. There was a ceremony in the main plaza. Station Commander Riloth gave a speech. Chief Engineer Veltran stood beside him, chest puffed with pride. The Galactic Council was watching via live feed. Dozens of planets were tuned in to see this achievement. Today, Korthan Engineering shows the galaxy what is possible, Veltran declared. The crowd cheered. Daewon watched on a small screen in the janitor's break room. His hands were wrapped around a cup of cold coffee. He had not slept, had not eaten. His stomach was too tight. He looked at his watch. In 2 hours, the jump sequence would begin. In about 7 hours after that, if his calculations were right, Reactor Core 3 would fail. He finished his coffee and put on his uniform. He checked his hidden toolkit one more time. Everything was there. Then he left the break room and headed to Sector 9. The sector was busy with engineers doing final checks. Daewon moved through them like a ghost. Nobody noticed him. He was just the janitor, part of the background. He positioned himself near Reactor Core 3. He had cleaning work to do there anyway. Nobody would question it. He set up his cart and began the familiar motions of wiping down surfaces, emptying bins, mopping floors, but his eyes were on the displays, watching, waiting. At exactly 1400 hours, the station-wide announcement played. Jump sequence initiating. All personnel to stations. Estimated jump duration 12 hours. The reactors began powering up. One by one, their outputs climbed. 100%, 110%, 120%. Daewon felt the vibration through the floor. It was different now, stronger. The whole station hummed with power. On the displays, reactors 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7 reached 140% smoothly. Their readings stayed green. Stable. Perfect. Reactor Core 3 climbed with them. 140%. The readings turned yellow, caution level, but stayed just inside acceptable range. The wormhole generators activated. Outside the station, space itself began to fold. A massive tunnel of twisted light appeared. The station slowly moved toward it, pulled by careful manipulation of gravity. Then they entered the wormhole. The view from the windows turned strange. Colors that should not exist. Light moving in impossible directions. They were in folded space now, traveling through a shortcut in reality itself. The first hour passed. Daewon kept cleaning, kept watching. Reactor Core 3's temperature crept up. Slowly. So slowly that the automated systems did not flag it as a problem. Second hour. The plasma containment field showed tiny fluctuations. Still within tolerance. Still green on the main display. But Daewon could see the pattern. It was exactly what he had predicted. Third hour. The fluctuations grew stronger. Now they were yellow on the secondary sensors, the ones that gave more detailed readings. But those sensors were not set to trigger alarms unless things got much worse. Daewon pulled out his tablet. He checked his calculations again. At the current rate of decay, The containment field would collapse in approximately 6 hours, right in the middle of the jump, when they could not abort. When stopping Reactor Core 3 would destabilize the whole wormhole and tear the station apart. His hands were sweating. He set down the tablet and picked up his mop. Steady. Stay calm. Not yet 4th hour. 5th hour. The vibration in the floor was wrong now. Day-One could feel it in his bones. Anyone who worked around reactors every day should have noticed. But the engineers were focused on their screens, watching the jump itself, monitoring the wormhole stability. At hour 5 and 30 minutes, something changed. The decay rate accelerated. Day-One's eyes went wide. He recalculated quickly. Not 6 hours. Not anymore. 2 hours. Maybe less. The containment field was failing faster than he had predicted. The extreme stress of the 140% load was breaking it down quicker. Day-One looked at the engineering control room. Through the window, he could see the engineers at work, relaxed, confident. They had no idea. He had to tell them. Now. He dropped his mop and ran. His feet pounded on the metal floor. He burst through the door to the engineering control room. "Stop!" he shouted. "Reactor Core 3 is failing." Every head turned. Engineers stared at him. For a moment, there was only shocked silence. Then Veltran stood up from his station. His scales flushed dark with anger. "What is the meaning of this?" "Reactor Core 3, Day-One said, breathing hard. "The plasma containment field. It is collapsing. You need to check the tertiary sensors. The temperature differential in Chamber 7. The magnetic bottle integrity on the western array. Get this human out of here." Veltran roared. 2 security guards appeared. They grabbed Day-One's arms. "Please." Day-One struggled. "Just check. Look at the readings. The tertiary sensors." "Remove him now," Veltran said. The guards dragged Day-One backward. He kept shouting. "Check Chamber 7. The magnetic bottles. You have less than 2 hours." "You are insane," Veltran yelled. "Security file charges for disrupting critical operations." The doors closed. Day-One was pulled down the corridor, away from the control room. Away from the reactor. Away from any chance to help. No, he said. "You do not understand. People are going to die." "Be quiet," one guard said. "Not cruel, just tired. Just doing his job." They put him in a holding cell. A small room with white walls and a single bench. The door locked with a heavy click. Day-One stood in the center of the cell, breathing hard. His heart hammered against his ribs. There was a clock on the wall. Digital numbers showing the time. He stared at it, calculating, recalculating. 1 hour and 47 minutes until catastrophic failure. He sat down on the bench. His hands were shaking. He put his face in his palms. He had tried. He had really tried. He had warned them in every way he could. And nobody listened. The station hummed around him. 50,000 people living their lives, working, eating, sleeping, talking, laughing. All of them safe and warm, with no idea what was coming. Hana was in the human quarter, probably asleep by now. Her small room with the pictures she had drawn on the walls. Her stuffed animal that she still slept with even though she said she was too old for it. She would die and never know why. Never understand that her papa had tried to save her. Tears burned in Day-One's eyes. He wiped them away angrily. Crying did not help. Nothing helped. He looked at the clock again. 1 hour and 43 minutes. The reactor was going to explode. The station was going to break apart. And there was nothing he could do except sit here and wait for the end. He thought about his wife. Maybe he would see her again soon. The thought should have been comforting. It was not. Outside his cell, the station hummed and shook. In Sector 9, Reactor Core 3 screamed warnings that no one was listening to, and the clock kept ticking. In the engineering control room, Myra stared at her screens. She was Elysian, her body glowing softly with inner light. She had been monitoring the jump for 6 hours and was getting tired. The humans shouting had been strange, disruptive. But now, 45 minutes later, something bothered her. He had mentioned specific sensors, the tertiary ones. Most people did not even know those existed. Why would a janitor know about tertiary sensors? She tapped her screen, pulling up the data from Reactor Core 3's tertiary monitoring system. These were backup sensors providing extra detailed readings that were usually not necessary. The primary systems handled everything. Her screen filled with numbers, Myra's glow flickered. She leaned closer. "Oh no," she whispered. The magnetic containment field was at 34% integrity. "And dropping fast, Chief," she called out. "Chief Veltran." Veltran was at the other end of the room reviewing jump calculations. He looked up, annoyed. "What is it?" "Reactor Core 3, the tertiary sensors." The human was right. The room went silent. Every engineer stopped working. Veltran crossed the room in 3 long strides. He looked at Myra's screen. His scales turned pale. "Run full diagnostics," he said quietly. "Right now." The team moved fast. Screens lit up with data. Alarm sounds filled the air as the systems finally recognized what was happening. Juan pulled up the containment field status. His face went white. Magnetic bottle integrity at 31% and falling. Rate of decay is exponential. "How long?" Veltran asked. His voice was tight. 40 minutes, another engineer said. "Maybe less. Can we shut it down?" "No." Juan's hands were shaking as he typed. "We are load balanced for the jump. If we drop Reactor Core 3, the power loss will collapse the wormhole. We would be torn apart. Can we abort the jump? We are in the middle of folded space." "There is no aborting." "We are committed for another 5 hours." Veltran stood frozen. For the first time in his life, he had no answer. No solution. The greatest Korthan engineer of his generation, and he could not fix this. "Emergency protocols," he said finally. "What do they say?" Someone pulled up the emergency manual. They scrolled through procedures, searching. "There is nothing," Myra said. Her voice was hollow. "No protocol for this scenario. Because it should be impossible." "What happens when the containment fails?" someone asked. "The plasma will breach the magnetic bottles," Juan said. "The heat will melt through the reactor housing in seconds. The explosion will rupture the hull in sectors 8 through 14. Approximately 15,000 casualties. And the explosion might destabilize the wormhole. If that happens..." He did not finish. He did not need to. They all knew. If the wormhole collapsed while they were inside it, the entire station would be destroyed. All 50,000 people, gone in an instant. The human knew, Myra said. "He tried to warn us," Veltran's expression twisted. Shame and fear mixed together. "Where is he?" "Security holding cell," someone said. "Get him now." 2 engineers ran from the room. The others stared at their screens, watching numbers fall. Watching death approach second by second. 36 minutes until containment failure. The security guards brought Daewon back to the engineering control room. His wrists were still in restraints. He looked tired, hollow, like a man who had already given up. When he saw Veltran, there was no anger in his eyes. "Just sadness. You were right," Veltran said. The words seemed to hurt him. "The reactor is failing." "We have 34 minutes. Daewon nodded slowly. "I know. Can you fix it?" "Maybe. I do not know. What do you need?" Daewon looked at the screens showing Reactor Core 3's status. His eyes moved fast, reading data, calculating. His brain worked through the problem the way it had been trained to, years ago in another life. "Release these," he said, holding up his wrists. The restraints came off. Daewon rubbed his wrists and walked to the main console. Engineers moved aside. He pulled up screen after screen, checking different systems. "The containment field is collapsing from uneven stress on the Western magnetic array," he said. "We need to reconfigure the plasma flow to redistribute the load. At the same time, we boost power to the failing magnetic bottles from other reactors." "That is impossible," an engineer said. "You cannot reconfigure plasma flow during operation. You can if you do it manually." Inside the reactor core, everyone stared at him. "That is suicide," Myra said. "The radiation levels inside the core during operation. We'll kill most species in seconds," Daewon finished. "I know. Then what are you suggesting?" Daewon looked at her. Then at Veltran. Then at all the engineers watching him. "Human cellular structure is different," he said. "We evolved on a planet with higher radiation levels than most of your worlds. Our cells repair radiation damage faster. We are more resistant." "How much more resistant?" Veltran asked. "Enough that I might survive 5 minutes inside the core. Maybe. If I work fast." "Might?" Juan said. "You do not know. No one has ever tested it at these levels." Daewon's voice was calm, matter of fact. "But it is the only chance we have. I can either go in and try, or we can all sit here and watch the clock count down to 0. Silence. "If I fail, you are no worse off than you are now," Daewon continued. If I succeed, 50,000 people live. Veltran's jaw worked. His pride was screaming. Everything in him wanted to find another way, a better way, a way that did not require a human janitor to save them all. But there was no other way. What do you need? Veltran asked again. The radiation suit, the best one you have. Extra shielding. And someone to monitor from out here and guide me through the magnetic array power routing. I will do it, Myra said immediately. Me too, Juan added. His voice was shaking, but he stepped forward. I owe you that. Daewon looked at Juan for a long moment. Then nodded. They moved fast. The radiation suit was brought from the emergency locker. It was designed for Elysians who could survive moderate radiation better than most species. On a human, it would buy maybe 5 minutes instead of 3. Engineers added extra shielding plates. It was heavy, clumsy. Daewon put it on piece by piece. Helmet, gloves, boots. The weight pressed down on him. Veltran helped with the final seals. His hands were steady, professional. When he finished, he looked at Daewon through the helmet's faceplate. I am sorry, Veltran said, for everything. For not listening. For mocking you. For treating you like you were nothing. Tell Hana I love her, Daewon said. If I do not make it, tell her I am proud of her. Tell her to be brave. Who is Hana? My daughter. Veltran's expression crumbled. He had not known the human had a child. The janitor he had treated like garbage had a little girl waiting for him. You will tell her yourself, Veltran said. I promise we will get you through this. Daewon smiled behind his helmet. They both knew it was a lie, but it was a kind lie. The clock showed 28 minutes until containment failure. Daewon walked toward the reactor core airlock. His heavy boots clanged on the metal floor. Every step took him closer to the door, closer to the radiation, closer to almost certain death. He paused at the airlock and looked back. All the engineers were watching him. These people who had mocked him, ignored him, treated him like he was less than nothing. Now he was their only hope. He stepped into the airlock. The door sealed behind him with a hiss, and Daewon walked into the fire. The inner airlock door opened. Heat hit Daewon like a physical force. Even through the suit, he felt it. The reactor core was a space of metal and light. Massive pipes ran along the walls glowing with inner fire. Plasma conduits pulsed like veins carrying molten sun. The radiation counter on his helmet display started climbing immediately. Yellow, orange, red. Warning sounds beeped in his ears. His suit's AI spoke in a calm voice. Lethal radiation detected. Recommend immediate evacuation. Daewon ignored it. He moved forward into the core. I am in, he said. His voice sounded strange in the helmet. Small and echoey. Copy that. Myra's voice came through his helmet speaker. Can you see the western magnetic array? It should be to your left. Daewon turned. Through the shimmering heat, he saw it. A massive cylindrical structure covered in control panels and physical switches. 8 switches in total. These were the manual overrides, installed as a backup in case the computer systems failed. Nobody ever expected them to be used. I see it, he said. You need to throw those switches in sequence, Myra said. They will redirect the plasma flow through different channels. It will ease the stress on the failing containment bottles. What is the sequence? Myra told him. Numbers and letters. Daewon repeated them back, memorizing. His head felt fuzzy already. The radiation was getting to him. He walked toward the array. Each step was hard. The suit was heavy. The heat made him dizzy. The radiation counter kept climbing. Containment at 29%, Juan's voice said. 18 minutes until failure. Daewon reached the first switch. It was covered in a clear safety case. He opened it and pulled the switch down. Something deep in the reactor rumbled. The plasma conduits shifted color slightly. Good, Myra said. Next one, second switch. Third switch. His hands were shaking. The radiation counter was screaming now. His skin felt wrong under the suit. Too hot. Like it was burning from the inside. How are you feeling? Myra asked. There was worry in her voice. Fine, Daewon lied. Fourth switch. Fifth switch. Containment holding at 28%, Juan reported. Not dropping anymore. You are doing it. Sixth switch. Daewon pulled it down. Or tried to. It did not move. He pulled harder. Nothing. This one is stuck, he said. What? Myra sounded panicked. That should not be possible. Daewon looked closer. The switch mechanism was damaged. Months of stress from the exact vibrations he had been feeling had cracked the housing. The metal was bent. "It is jammed," he said. "The housing is broken. Can you force it?" He pulled with all his strength. The switch did not budge. The thick gloves of the suit made it impossible to get a good grip. "Day one," Juan said urgently. "Without that switch, the plasma will not redistribute properly. The containment will still fail." "I know. You need to throw that switch. I know." Day one's voice was sharp. He took a breath. "I need to take the glove off. I cannot grip it properly with the glove." Silence on the other end. "If you take the glove off," Myra started, "I know what will happen." Day one looked at his hand, then at the stuck switch. "But it is the only way." "Day one, please." That was Veltran's voice now. "Maybe there is another way." "There is no time to look for another way." Day one's voice was calm, final. "I am doing this." He unsealed the glove. The latches clicked open. He pulled it off. Immediately, pain shot through his hand. The radiation was so much worse without the shielding. He could feel his cells breaking down, could feel the damage happening in real time. Medical alarms screamed in the control room. Numbers spiked on screens showing his vital signs. Day one ignored all of it. He grabbed the switch with his bare hand. His skin touched the hot metal. It burned. The radiation burned worse. He pulled. The switch moved. Just a little. A centimeter. He gritted his teeth and pulled harder. His vision was starting to blur. His hand felt like it was on fire, like someone was pouring acid into his veins. The switch moved more. "Halfway down, 3/4, come on," he whispered. "Come on!" With a final jerk, the switch slammed down. The reactor rumbled. The plasma flows shifted. "Switch 6 engaged," Myra said. Her voice was thick with emotion. "Containment rising. 29%. 30%. Day one put the glove back on. His hand was already swelling. The skin was red and blistering, but he could still move it. That was what mattered. 2 more switches. 13 minutes, Juan said. Day one stumbled to the 7th switch. His legs were not working right. The radiation was affecting his nervous system. His vision had dark spots, but his brain was still working, still calculating, still moving forward. 7th switch, down 8th switch. His hand slipped off it twice. On the 3rd try, he got it. "All switches engaged," Myra said. "Plasma flow redistributed. Containment at 34% and rising." "That is not enough," Juan said. "It is rising too slowly. At this rate, we will still fail before the containment reaches safe levels." Day one leaned against the wall. His body was shutting down. He could feel it. Organs failing. Systems collapsing. He had maybe 2 minutes of consciousness left. "The cold restart," he said. His voice was weak. "We need to do the cold restart." "That is too dangerous," Veltran said. "The procedure has never been tested during operation. If you get the sequence wrong, the entire reactor will destabilize. Instant explosion. And if we do nothing, we explode in 11 minutes. Day one pushed off the wall. He stumbled toward the central control column. "What choice do we have?" No one answered. The central column was in the middle of the core. A tall pillar covered in controls. This was the heart of the reactor. 4 separate magnetic containment generators, each one responsible for holding the plasma in its bottles. To do a cold restart, he had to shut them all down in sequence, let the magnetic fields collapse, then restart them in the reverse order. It would buy them time to boost power to the containment system from other reactors. If he got the sequence wrong, the plasma would explode outward with the force of a small nuclear bomb. "Ready?" he asked. "Wait, that was Veltran." "Day one. If this goes wrong, thank you for trying. Thank you for caring when you had every reason not to." Day one smiled behind his helmet. His lips were bleeding. His vision was almost gone. "Tell Hana," he said. "I will, I promise." Day one reached for the first control. His hand was shaking so badly he could barely hold it steady. "Guide me," he said to Myra. "Tell me each step." First generator, shut down control. 3 seconds delay. His fingers found the button. He pressed it, counted 1, 2, 3. Second generator, shut down control. 2 seconds delay. Press, count 1, 2. His legs gave out. He fell to his knees but kept his hand on the column. Third generator, shut down control. 1 second delay. Press, count 1. Fourth generator, shut down control. Immediate press. The reactor went quiet. For one terrible moment, everything stopped. The plasma, no longer held by magnetic fields, hung in space, unstable, ready to explode. Now restart, Myra shouted. Fourth generator first. Immediate! Daewon's hand moved. He could barely see. Everything was dark except for a tiny circle in the center of his vision. He pressed the button. He thought it was the right button. He was not sure anymore. The reactor roared back to life. Magnetic fields surged. The plasma snapped back into containment. Third generator! 1 second delay. Press count. He could not count anymore. He pressed the button and hoped. Second generator. 2 seconds. Press. His hand fell away from the button. He tried to lift it again. Could not. Daewon. Myra was screaming. You need to finish. 2 more generators. He could not see it all now. Everything was black. His body was not responding to his commands, but his hand remembered. Muscle memory from 1,000 simulations years ago in another life. His fingers moved on their own. Found the button, press, last one. 3 seconds. His hand moved up. Found something that felt like a button. Pressed it, then he fell forward. His body hit the floor. The helmet display went dark. Far away, like in a dream, he heard voices shouting. Alarms. Celebration, maybe. But he could not hear what they were saying anymore. The darkness took him. In the control room, engineers stared at their screens in shocked silence. Containment at 67% and rising, Juan said, his voice breaking. The reactor is stable. Emergency power routing successful, another engineer reported. All systems nominal. The jump is holding steady, Myra added. We are safe. Someone started crying. Then someone else. Relief crashed over the room like a wave. But Veltran was not celebrating. He was staring at the screen showing Daewon's vital signs. Most of them were flat lines. Medical team to Reactor Core 3, Veltran said into his communicator. His voice was shaking. Emergency extraction, right now. The medical team moved faster than they ever had before. They could not enter the core until radiation levels dropped enough. Every second of waiting felt like an hour. Finally, they went in. They pulled Daewon's body out of the core and onto a stretcher. His suit was torn in places. His exposed hand was barely recognizable. His face behind the helmet visor was gray. He is alive, one medic said. Barely. Multiple organ failure. Massive cellular breakdown. I have never seen radiation poisoning this severe. They rushed him through the corridors on the stretcher. People stopped and stared. Word was already spreading through the station. The janitor had saved them. The human they had all mocked had walked into a death trap to save their lives. At the medical bay, the doors slid open. The lead doctor was a Korthan named Jek. He took one look at Daewon and his face went pale. Get him into the regeneration pod, Jek ordered. Maximum setting. And someone find his next of kin. They put Daewon into a medical pod filled with blue healing gel. Machines attached to his body, scanning, repairing, fighting to keep him alive. The odds were not good. His body was destroyed on a cellular level. No species should have survived that much radiation. But he was human, and humans were stubborn. In the human quarter, Myra found Hana. The little girl was with a neighbor who watched her sometimes when Daewon worked late. She was drawing pictures with crayons. Hana, Myra said gently, kneeling down. Her Elysian glow was soft and warm. Your papa needs you. He is in the hospital. Hana's eyes went wide with fear. Is he hurt? Yes. But the doctors are helping him. Come with me. They ran through the station together, Hana's small hand in Myra's glowing one. When they reached the medical bay, Jek tried to explain gently what had happened. Your father saved everyone on the station, Jek said. He was very brave, but he is hurt badly. We are doing everything we can. Hana looked at the pod where her father lay. He did not look like himself. His face was swollen. His skin was covered in burns. Machines beeped and hummed around him. Can he hear me? Hana asked. We do not know. She walked to the pod, put her small hand on the glass. Papa, she said. It is me. Hana, you have to wake up. You have to. You promised you would always come home. You promised. Tears ran down her face. Myra stayed with her. So did Veltran, who came to the medical bay and stood silently in the corner watching. And Juan, who could not stop crying every time he looked at the pod. The first day passed, then the second, then a week. The station completed its jump successfully. They arrived at the new planet, a beautiful blue world with white clouds. Everyone was safe because of Day-Wan. But Day-Wan was still in the pod, still hovering between life and death. The story spread across the station, then across the galaxy. News feeds picked it up. Human janitor saves 50,000 lives. Ignored warnings nearly caused disaster. The man they mocked became their hero. The Galactic Council was embarrassed, very embarrassed. They had to explain how their safety systems failed so badly, how discrimination had nearly caused mass death. Commander Ryle-Oth was removed from his position for dismissing Day-Wan's safety report. The inspector who had filed it away without reading was fired. New rules were created. From now on, all safety concerns had to be reviewed seriously no matter who reported them. Veltran resigned as chief engineer. He visited the medical bay every day, sitting with Hana, telling her stories about her father's bravery. On the 20th day, something changed. The medical monitors beeped differently. Jack rushed to check. Brain activity increasing, he said. I think he's waking up. Hana jumped up from her chair. Papa? Slowly, very slowly, Day-Wan's eyes opened. They were unfocused at first, confused. Then they found Hana's face pressed against the glass. He smiled. Just a little. Just enough. The pod opened with a hiss. Hana climbed in carefully, gently, and hugged her father. He was too weak to hug back, but he tried. You came back, she whispered. You kept your promise. Always. His voice was rough from not being used. Always for you. Recovery took months. The regeneration technology healed his body, but some scars would never fully disappear. His right hand, the one exposed to direct radiation, would always be stiff. His lungs would always be a bit weak. But he was alive. As he healed, visitors came. Engineers who had mocked him came to apologize. Station workers brought gifts. Children from the school made cards thanking him. The Galactic Council awarded him the Star of Preservation. It was the highest civilian honor in the galaxy. Only 12 people in history had ever received it. Now a human janitor was number 13. A ceremony was held. Day-Wan, still weak but standing with Hana beside him, received the medal from a council member who flew all the way to the station to present it personally. Your actions represent the best of what any species can be, the council member said. Brave, selfless, and determined to do what is right even when no one supports you. The galaxy is in your debt. Day-Wan accepted the medal. But he gave a speech that made many people uncomfortable. I did not do this for glory, he said. I did it because it was right, and I should not have had to nearly die for people to listen to me. The problem was not just that I was right about the reactor. The problem was that you assumed I could not be right because I was human. Because I was a janitor. That needs to change. The council member nodded slowly. You are correct. And we are implementing reforms. The technological contribution index will no longer determine someone's worth or their voice in safety matters. It was a small step, but it was a step. After the ceremony, Day-Wan was offered a new job, chief safety officer for the entire station, a senior position with real authority, good pay, respect. He almost said no. Part of him wanted to take Hana and leave this place. Go back to Earth, maybe. Find somewhere quiet where nobody knew them. But Hana had friends here now, and he could make real changes from this position. He could make sure what happened to him never happened to anyone else. I will take the job, he said, on one condition. What is it? The administrator asked. I want Juan as my deputy. He made mistakes, but he owned them. He deserves a chance to prove himself. Juan, who was in the room, looked shocked. After what I did to you? After what? You did. You came back and helped save my life, Day One said. Everyone deserves forgiveness. Everyone deserves a chance to be better. Juan nodded, tears in his eyes. I will not let you down. Life changed for the humans on the station. With one of their own as a respected hero and high-ranking official, the discrimination decreased. Not completely. Old habits die hard. But it got better. Human children could attend better schools now. Human workers could apply for better jobs. They were still near the bottom of the list, but at least now they had a voice. 6 months after the incident, Daewon walked Hana to school. He moved slower than before. His injuries made him limp a bit. But he was alive and with his daughter, and that was all that mattered. Papa, can I wear your medal? Hana asked. She had pinned the Star of Preservation to her backpack. She showed it to everyone. Yes, but do not lose it. I would never lose it. You are a hero. I am just a father who wanted to protect his daughter. She hugged him tight. Then she ran inside the school building with her friends. Daewon watched her go. Then he turned and walked to his office. He had work to do, safety reports to review, systems to check, changes to implement. People nodded to him as he passed. A young Korthan engineer stopped to ask his opinion on a new reactor design. A Valtari child waved hello. She had learned about the human who saved everyone in school. The observation deck was on his way to the office. Daewon stopped there for a moment. He looked out at the new planet below. Blue and green and beautiful. Clouds swirled across continents. It looked a bit like Earth. He thought about his wife. He could honor her memory openly now without fear. Her death was under investigation. Maybe someday there would be justice. He thought about the janitor he had been. Invisible. Ignored. Mocked. He thought about the man he was now. Respected. Heard. Valued. The same person. The same knowledge. The same worth. Only the galaxy's willingness to see him had changed. Never again, he said quietly to the stars. Never again will someone be invisible just because of what they are or where they work. It was a big promise, maybe too big for one person to keep. But he would try, just like he had tried to warn them about the reactor, just like he had tried to save them all. And sometimes trying was enough. Behind him, the station hummed with life. 50,000 souls living, working, loving, dreaming, all of them alive because one man refused to stay quiet, because one father loved his daughter more than he feared death. They had mocked a single dad janitor, but he had saved them anyway. Not because they deserved it,